opportunity to be with you on this Easter morning and to be with such a handsome / beautiful congregation. Of course, I've taken my glasses off, but I'm assuming that that's the case. F.W. Borum, a very prolific writer of books and pastor of various churches in New Zealand and Australia 100 years ago, and I was attracted to him. He's largely forgotten today. I'm sure his books are out of print. But he had written 32 books, and then his 33rd book was titled, I Forgot to Say. You know, you've got to love somebody who can produce that kind of thing. He once wrote that when he was a boy, he was allowed outside at night to see the stars. And he was always astonished to see the glittering heavens. But he writes now, when I leave home in the evening, the stars fail to surprise me. But as I observe their movements, admire their arrangement, and contemplate their multitude and immensity, I am filled with a wonder, such as in infancy I never knew. Well, friends, some of us have had a lot of Easters in our lives. What may no longer surprise us about Easter morning, I hope may instead usher in a wonder such as we have not known before. For there is a movement, an arrangement, and we might add an immensity to Easter which exceeds what the skies have to offer. Now, the Gospels tell the story of Easter so matter-of-factly that it sounds like a description of the sun rising in the morning sky. In fact, there is no description of Christ's resurrection. Search the accounts all we want, put them side by side, study them carefully, read between the lines, and we still find no words to describe it. You would think that the Gospels would put as much drama into Easter as they put into the Christmas story, or as they put into Holy Week. So what happened on Easter just happened. Our Lord rose from the dead, and he rose in the secret hours of the night. How he rose, no one knows. It was God's private act, God's way of making sure that no one knew how it happened, just that it happened. And there's good reason for this. After all, our Lord's death was very public. Everybody could see that he died. People had a hand in making sure that he died. But all the while, God was in the background watching and listening. On Friday, God's heart was breaking. I mean, there were the words, "Why have you forsaken me? I thirst. It is finished." And finally, even God couldn't take it anymore and caused darkness to come at noon, just to hide the spectacle from human eye. What God had to endure that day. So others may say, God would never permit his son to die, therefore Jesus is not who he claimed to be. But we have to say God permitted this to happen with a broken heart, so that when we read the word love in the Bible, we know it isn't a cheap word. Friday belonged to everybody else, but Easter belonged to God. I've often said and reflected recently in my life that I would have told the gospel ending differently I would have been seduced by Hollywood to tell it differently. So if Friday is, spectacle, Mel Gibson can do that. Easter should have been our Lord rises from the dead, then he goes to Pilate, then he goes to the high priest, then he goes to the soldiers, he goes to everybody else, and he says, well, what are you guys going to make of this? But it's not a revenge story. So Friday is public, Easter is private. And I think that's how it works in our lives as well. All of our failures and all of the things that we do wrong, they tend to get noticed. But when we have our resurrections, our transformations, when Christ enters our lives and makes something new, it's within the community. It's not in the newspaper. It's something that is beautifully simple and private. And our Lord on Easter is saying, that's the way it's going to be. And you guys are just going to have to deal with it from now on. That's the way I work. And I don't tell revenge stories as much as you love them. The resurrection was not anticipated by its first witnesses. John tells us that Mary Magdalene went to the tomb that morning expecting our Lord to be dead. God's love was not the only love that shows up in the story. Mary also loved our Lord and thought of his poor body as she walked quietly in that morning stillness. But then she saw that the stone had been rolled away. Somebody once said, Middle Easterners never plan ahead. So all of the Easter stories, the women are going, okay, we're coming with our spices and whatnot. Oh, how are we going to get the stone rolled away? They're all asking that. We forgot about that. But when they get there, it's rolled away. And so this tremor must have passed through her soul when she saw that the body wasn't there. So friends, I want to look at Easter with you this morning through the eyes, so to speak, of Mary Magdalene. She said something very interesting in our text. She said, they have taken away my Lord, and we do not know where they've laid him. Now that, I think, is a timeless sentiment. I remember listening once to a minister friend of mine speak about his experiences in seminary. He said the professors were all skeptics. They doubted the authenticity of the biblical record. They did not believe in the resurrection. They didn't believe in the birth stories. They didn't believe in the miracles of Christ. He said the only verse they believed in the entire New Testament was a little verse in Luke which reads, and the child grew. So there are those who have listened to the experts over the years and they've thought to themselves, they've taken away my Lord and I don't know where they've laid him. Every Monday evening, I teach a class at Sing Sing Prison. It's a very interesting experience for me. The class is entitled Introduction to the New Testament. It's supposed to be post-secondary education.